Aoife Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about equality, diversity and inclusion at NUI Galway. So, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to our team, which is a small office of 3 people. The office was established in 2016 on foot of a recommendation from the NUI Galway Gender Equality Task Force, which recommended the appointment of a Vice President for Equality and Diversity, as well as the establishment of a governance structure and support structure to support that. So it was headed up with the appointment of Professor Anne Scott, Vice President. She's on annual leave at the moment, so she can't be here today. Myself, I'm Head of Equal Opportunities, and we have another colleague, Tanya Watts, who is the Equality Manager and our Office Manager as well. As well, another recommendation within that was the establishment of an appropriate governance structure and adequate resources to drive forward the agenda. So before I talk about that, I suppose I want to take a minute to maybe reflect or think about what are we talking about equality and diversity and inclusion. What do we mean by that? And equality, I think, is pretty straightforward. It's generally understood to be equal treatment, or at least equality of outcome when it comes to all members of our community, irrespective of what grounds or what characteristics that you belong to. So the diversity piece, if we look at NUI Galway, we have over 18,000 students and approximately 2,300 staff. So combined, that's around 20,000 in our community, which is the size of a town, I think, in rural Ireland, a good town in rural Ireland. And within that 20,000, as you can imagine, we're going to be quite different and quite diverse. So we have students coming from, I think, 110 countries worldwide, and including an increasing number of Irish ethnic minority students and members of the travelling community. Approximately 20% of our staff are international, from all over, in fact, including ethnic minority staff members. Now, that varies a little bit. If we look at our research category, that is more international. If we look at our administrative category, that is less international. So there are degrees of variance, but overall, approximately 20% of our staff and student body are international. Gender-wise, 57% of our staff are women, and 57 and 43 are men. So that's our overall gender profile. Again, if you look at different cohorts of staff or different staff categories, there are slight differences. And from an age perspective, the average age of staff in the university is 44.6 years old. Again, our researchers are younger. The average age for our research staff is 35 years old, and our oldest is our academic staff groupings. So, that's a variety, if you like, of diversity, and even, it's more complex because within that there's a lot of intersectionality. We're not all just diverse along one dimension, and of course we're different in terms of our experiences, we're different in terms of our voices and our perspectives. So if we think of inclusion then, we're thinking of having a culture, or working to have a culture that actually gives everybody the opportunity, the same opportunities to flourish, the same opportunities to speak, the same opportunities to be included within the community. And that's not inevitable, that's not something that happens automatically, that is something that actually takes effort and it takes consideration in order to actually reap the benefits of a diverse community. So I mentioned we have a particular structure. So since 2016, we have a well-developed structure now with a governing committee that reports into our governing authority. We then have an operational committee which actually looks at all the operational issues across the campus for staff and students, and that's made up of members of academic staff, our deans, our senior leaders, our student union representatives, including Claire, so it's broadly representative. And within that then we have a particular committee for looking at gender equality that reports in through that particular structure as well. So we sat down at the start of each year, we sit down and we look at what are our work streams, where are our priorities, and we look at the burning issues and we look at where we have to prioritise work on each given year. And the EDICC, which is the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Campus Committee, the operational committee, has identified a number of work streams where we will be focused, where we placed a particular focus last year and will continue to do so for the coming year. And those particular work streams are gender equality. Now, you may be aware we have had a difficult history and we have a particular reputation around gender equality, and that came from a court case that was taken by an academic staff member back in 2012, and eventually in 2014 a decision was issued by the Equality Authority at that time, which found that the university had discriminated against that particular lecture in terms of promotion. As a result of that, and not as a result, but even prior to that, a lot of work has been put in to addressing the particular issues around gender equality. And, you know, I am pleased to say that we are now beginning to see very positive outcomes and real improvements, tangible improvements in relation to that. It will continue to be a priority area for our office because gender equality is not, again, inevitable, and it's not just you don't reach a point and say we're there. It is going to be a continued work in progress. But we have expanded our work more broadly as well to focus on LGBT+, and we have a new staff network which was established in 2017. We're putting a renewed effort into looking at the area of disability for staff and students, and looking at particular accommodations and access to support staff and students. A new area of work is around cultural diversity, and again that's looking at the experiences of our international staff and our students from ethnic minority groups also. And I'm jumping the gun a little bit here when I say we will be launching a survey next week, a broad equality and diversity survey, which will explore the experiences of staff around all of these particular areas of work. We're also looking to improve our data gathering and our diversity monitoring information, because that in fact is the evidence base that we have to look at how we progress and how we're improving and how we're moving over time. And the other particular area is policy development. So you'll also become aware that we have a new gender expression and gender identity policy, which will come into effect on the 1st of October. And around that, we will launch a campaign to provide supports. We will launch an ally programme and a campaign then to ensure that people are aware of and have the training that's required. We're also looking at policies around a maternity leave policy for students, and we're looking to revise and update our equal opportunities policies, harassment, sexual harassment, and the university in conjunction with HR have recently also updated bullying and harassment. So there's constant work in progress around the development of policies and ensuring that existing policies are renewed and are fit for purpose and are, you know, comply with best practice. So when we talk about gender equality, can I ask if anybody here has heard of, I'm sure someone has, I'm sure some of you have heard of the Athena SWAN Charter? Okay, so some have. So the Athena SWAN Charter initially started out as a particular measure to address the loss of women, academic and research women in STEM, so in your science and your engineering and your technology. It has been more recently acknowledged that actually gender equality isn't confined to STEM, and in fact it's equally prevalent in humanities and business and law and all other faculties. So the Charter has expanded since 2015 to include all faculties and all categories of staff. So it's not just academic and research women, it's also support services women, professional services women, men in some cases, trans staff and students. It has expanded around 10. It started out life with 6 principles, it's gone to 10. I suppose what I would say, if I were to sum it up, it's around broader principles now of equality and inclusion, and it's less specific and less focused. We signed up to the Charter in 2014 when it was first expanded, when it first came to Ireland. In fact, we were part of the consortium that lobbied for Athena SWAN to actually come to Ireland, and we worked with the HEA to fund that. And essentially it's for everyone, and people can get involved, like everybody can get involved. I'm very proud to say that the university finally, not on our first attempt I will admit, but we were finally awarded Athena SWAN accreditation for the university this year, in May of this year. And that was as a result of a kind of a long arduous process of applying. We had been previously unsuccessful. We had been given feedback. We acted on that. We've put a very rigorous action plan in place to address the issues that we have identified within our own university around gender equality. So I'm very proud to say we have it as an institution, and I'm also very proud to say that our School of Medicine received accreditation, Athena SWAN accreditation, for their school. And they are the first school, the first medical school in Ireland to have received that accreditation. Now our challenge is actually to work with all schools within the university to get accreditation at school level, which will then embed, if you like, the principles throughout the institution and allow us to move forward as an institution to the next level of accreditation. And the reason Athena SWAN is very important is that it provides a framework to enable us to, if you like, address issues, institution and cultural issues around gender equality. Now, more recently, so we started out, we signed up, we put it in our strategic plan, we submitted for accreditation. More recently, the HEA issued a set of recommendations that recommended to funders, to research funding agencies, to make accreditation an eligibility criteria for funding. They adopted that recommendation, and now it is the case that the big Irish research funders have made Athena SWAN accreditation an eligibility criteria. So every institution must have achieved the bronze university level award in order to apply for funding by 2019. So we have that. We're over the line there. Our next challenge, and it's a strategic challenge for the university, is to achieve silver accreditation by 2023, and that's a big ask. So that means most of our schools must achieve a school level accreditation in the meantime. And what does that all mean for you? I mean, that's all very well and good, but actually we will be reaching out and we will be asking, you know, through schools and institution-wide, we will be asking people to get involved with workshops, with surveys, with general information sessions, you know, so there are ways that you can feed in and be part of the Athena SWAN journey, I suppose. Next week, we will launch a survey, I mentioned, a broad gender and broader equality survey, and we would ask that people participate in that survey, because it's only through that we get the evidence and we get to hear from people about your experiences and about the challenges, and that then informs where we put our efforts in terms of addressing those. Our office also collaborates with a number of networks and other offices across the university to organise events such as family events. Usually we would have a summer and Christmas event. We run women in leadership seminars and series, and those are tailored for academic audiences as well as professional audiences. Every 8th of March, which is International Women's Day, we plan a week of events, and it's not just all about women, it's also to include male colleagues, but we try and get engaging speakers, or speakers of interest or activities of interest, to engage the entire university audience in that. We run an annual project fund, and that again will be launched in the coming weeks, where we invite staff and students, staff and students to apply for grants, small grants, to fulfill or to pursue projects, equality projects in your own areas that may be of relevance or may be of interest. And watch this space, because as I said, that will be launched shortly. And we collaborate then, we look and try and collaborate with partners outside of ourselves. We look at the 30% Club, KPMG, the International Women's Forum, and other regional bodies and initiatives. We have a fairly comprehensive training programme, and this is expanding all the time as we become more established within the university. Of particular note, you will have seen perhaps a call for applications for the Aurora Women's Leadership Development Programme. That went out this week, and we support women. We support a cohort of between 15 and 20 women annually to participate in this programme, which runs nationally each year. So I suppose if you're interested in that, or you'd like to consider exploring or thinking about leadership in higher education, that's certainly one to look at. We also run unconscious bias on a regular basis. It is a requirement, it's the university policy, that any member of staff who is sitting on an interview or selection panel, or indeed a member of university management group that staff will have received annual unconscious bias training. So that runs on a regular basis and will be offered. You will see it coming up over the course of the coming semester. We run programs for women returning from maternity leave, and they're one-day programs to help women think about coming back, think about how they want to, how they want to manage their work when they come back, how about having good constructive conversations, and by and large, feedback on those is very good. We run by semester, we'll run Dignity at Work workshops, and that'll look at the impact of behaviour and the impact of, bullying, harassment, sexual harassment in the workplace. So we run a variety of programmes. Watch, I suppose you will see. These are all available on our website, but we will send out updates in relation to that. I mentioned that we prioritise our work because that's essential. We can't do it all at once. Our renewed focus will be around the areas of disability, multiculturalism, developing our LGBT plus staff networks, and the implementation of our gender equality action plans. That's Athena SWAN, as well as an action plan that was recommended by our task force, which is nearly complete, I would have to say. So we'd love to hear from you. Our website contains all of the information I've talked about and far more. Obviously, I've given you just a taster, but I would ask you to visit our website. I would ask you to get in touch if you would like to get in contact. In particular, I draw your attention to the fact that this survey will launch next week, and we would really like to get a good response rate, because I do believe that is what will allow us then to hear what you have to say and work and address what comes out of it. So that's, if you like, an overview of the Office of the Vice President for Equality and Diversity. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any. And as I said, don't hesitate to get in touch if something occurs to you outside of this.